disappointed, but a miracle happened. While the guy was shocked by what he saw, Larietta asked if he would sign the contract. But the guy thought that this one miracle could break his curse forever, and he didn't want to miss it. And Lariette lost consciousness due to the use of a large amount of mana. Asher decided that he would never let her go until his curse was broken. In exchange for lifting the curse, the Duke provides Lariette with room and board for 3 months. Afterwards, she woke up in bed, and the Duke was next to her. She asked where they were, and the Duke replied that they were in the Duchy of Candle. He brought her here, as it was stated in the contract. And if it was rude on his part, then he can take her to his home. But Larietta, of course, refused the offer. Then Escher handed over the contract, which Lariette herself had drawn up, but she could only think that it was very beautiful. She was very happy and asked if he really signed it, and Asher replied that she was the first who could influence the curse. Ietta took his hands in hers, since a hug from joy is impolite. Even a handshake will do. She told him not to worry because she would take care of him in the future, but Asher added that their relationship was no more than that of employer to employee. Lariette asked to call her by name. Asher could not understand why she was not afraid of him, and stood up and said that he had come here to check on her, since she had lost consciousness and her things were already here. She thought that he seems to have a lot of experience in love relationships, but he continues to avoid him. She began to think that if she is not his type. Larietta smiled, thinking that tastes could change. The smile frightened Asher, and he said that she should not get out of bed yet, since she had not yet recovered. This only made Larietta more excited, and she smirked, which scared Asher again, and he said that she should rest and that they would talk tomorrow. When he left, she started screaming that it was illegal to show her face as soon as she woke up. Because he was so handsome, she kept screaming that he was handsome. And behind the door stood Asher, who all this time listened to Lariette screaming about his appearance. Of course, this greatly surprised Asher and made him blush. He said that she was really strange. In the morning in his office, he was reading documents, and Larietta was already staring at him, and Asher asked if she wanted to tell him something. And Larietta replied that she was waiting for him to stop, pretending not to notice her. She surprised him by asking if he wanted to eat with her. She thought they could have breakfast together tomorrow. Asher said that she must have good digestion and appetite if she wanted to eat with him. Lariette asked what he meant, but Asher interrupted her and asked how much she knew about his curse. She said she didn't know anything about it as she dragged the table towards Asher's desk. Asher replied that this is what the caster leaves at the moment of death. It is very powerful. The option of killing the caster and destroying the curse immediately disappears. Lariette asked when he was cursed, and Asher replied that at 7 years old, she may not have noticed, but this headband is enchanted and can prevent odors. He took off the bandage and showed his hand, saying that this was a curse in which the skin of the body rots, like that of the dead. Even cleansing magic only slowed down the rotting process. Asher replied that this curse could not be lifted. Lariette began to feel sorry for him. But Asher thought that she could run away from such disgusting speeches, in which case he would have to catch her and lock her next to him, the creepy guy. Since she can lift the curse, he will do anything to ensure that she stays with him, anything. But Lariette did something that surprised Asher even more. She took his hand in hers and asked if he was in pain and what she should do, because he was suffering so much. She doesn't know how hard it is to live with a curse. She wanted to use it as a tool, and now she blames herself for it. Therefore, she told Asher that she promised him that she would definitely lift the curse. Asher wondered why she wasn't afraid of him. Everyone else was avoiding him because they felt disgusted and sick because of his rotting skin. By treating him like a person and looking at him as if he were cute, he thought that this way he could become a greedy egoist. But Asher stopped her, as she had already used too much mana. He said there was no need to overdo it. Lariette replied that she wouldn't have enough mana, so she was just testing. The left hand already looks much better, and the cleansing magic continues to work inside it. She senses that the cleansing magic is still present in his body, and she runs a test. His body has a limit of purification magic that can be held in it for a while, until the left hand is purified. Other parts cannot do so. But Asher thought that he was willing to even cleanse himself a little. And while she was saying this, Asher was pouring her tea. Larietta told him not to worry. She would take responsibility and clean everything up before she died. He didn't understand what she meant about death, and she said that she meant as quickly as possible. Larietta said that everything would be fine, and Asher asked if she was afraid of him. He thought he looked terrible, but Larietta didn't see it and asked if she had any reason to be afraid of him. And then she remembered the rumors and asked about the rumor about the war demon. And it was true that he won the war, doomed to failure. He received the title of national hero. Probably, it is the jealous members of the imperial family who spread this dirt so that he cannot rise higher in influence. And the curse is not his whim. One should be afraid of the magician who sent the curse, and not his victim. Is it right to blame the victim? Let the criminal pay for what he did. She suddenly took his face in her hands. Lariette said that she was not afraid of him, nothing except the fear that he would not date her. Asher became embarrassed and said to let him go. Larietta thought his cheeks were so soft and tender. Having risen, he said that at 7 o'clock they would meet for dinner. This made Lariette very happy. Satisfied, Lariette thought that he was most likely sensitive to touch. She touched his cheeks a little, and he already agreed to have dinner. Suddenly a butler approached her, Hallstein, the faithful and long-serving butler of the Duke Candela family. He asked if she had met the Duke, and Lariette replied that thanks to him, she did not get lost and immediately found his office. Thus, she was even able to arrange a meeting for dinner, and the butler, surprised, asked if they would have dinner together. He thought that the owner had not eaten with anyone for a long time after the death of the former Duchess. The Duke no longer shared a meal with anyone, and the butler asked her to take care of the Duke, and Larietta said they were just going to dinner. After talking with Larietta, the butler immediately went to the Duke and put a book on the table about a guide to successful dates. Escher thought that he was taught the etiquette of behavior at meals in childhood, and in the future no new rules appeared. Although he is really afraid that this sorceress, who is 5 years younger, will laugh at her. Besides, it says it's a date, a book that has nothing to do with him. But the butler was persistent and asked to read the book in 27 years of serving the master. He had never been as useful as he is now. Again, refusing the book, the butler decided to read it aloud himself, politely pushing the chair back for the lady, but Asher interrupted him and, rising, said that he did not want to hear him. He got ready and left, thinking that he had to hide the disgusting smell of the curse coming from him. Dinner came. Asher came and immediately sat down on a chair, thinking that they would just eat together, but her joy surprises him. He did not think that she would like it so much. Larietta stood up, took her plate and sat down next to him, and asked if she could change something in the contract. She came closer and said that she thought the payment was insufficient compared to the purification magic spent. Asher moved away a little and thought that modern young people speak so directly. It is worth recalling that his constant interlocutor was an old butler. He believed that he could give her as much money as she wanted, which could be used to buy even a small country. Mandatory to eat together at least once a day, go out together at least 2 times a week. Expenses will be paid, including the limit. Asher asked what it meant to ask for walks together, and Larietta replied that of course it would be their dates. He thought that the only thing she wanted to add was a date. Asher thought it was strange, but it will be difficult if she leaves saying she wasn't paid properly. Therefore, he decided to add one more clause. If the performer A disappears without lifting B's curse, then A will accept any consequences that B may do. Larry agreed, although she was a little surprised, because she was going to clean him anyway. He had no reason to be afraid. After signing the agreement, Larry asked what he would think if she invited him to a picnic tomorrow. The estate was huge, and there were many beautiful places. Asher replied that he was leaving tomorrow, and Larry immediately said that we could meet the day after tomorrow. Asher asked why there was such a rush. Larry replied that this was a very important matter, because she was going to win Asher's love, and he agreed. A few days later, Larry dressed in a cute dress, and while looking at the estate, she thought that the house was really beautiful and pleasant to live in, and her mana had already been restored. Therefore, she decided that she should hurry to clear the curse before leaving. Asher was in his office, and when he saw her, he said that she woke up early. Larry continued to say strange things, saying that the sun named Asher never sets, his face blinds forever. Asher said that they would have a picnic in the afternoon, otherwise it would be colder in the evening, and then return straight away, since he had a lot of work to do. Larry said that she could clear his curse before the picnic, which surprised Asher, who did not expect her to restore her mana so quickly. She thought that touching bare skin would be more effective, so she untied the bandage. After cleaning, she noticed that the hand was no longer cursed so much. So once should be enough, as last time she said, she could completely get rid of the curse after a few days of cleansing. Asher, impressed by its strength, looked at his hand. He had been looking for a solution for more than 10 years, and never thought that it was so easy to cleanse. He asked if she was okay, and Larry replied that she had gotten the hang of it. She used to spend too much mana. Then she said that now they should go on a picnic when they went outside. A cold wind blew, and Asher recalled that he had said that the spring morning was still cold. Larry decided to move closer to Asher and was pleased to say that it still made sense to go on a date together. Remembering the romantic books, Larry said that she would be warm if someone gave her a coat. But Asher immediately replied that he did not want to do this. He said it wasn't because it was harmful, but because his coat smelled disgusting. But Larry surprised him again by saying that Asher really shouldn't catch a cold. So she quickly ran to the fountain, covered him with a blanket and sat down, telling him to come here. The sun was warming here. He came up and sat down, said that she was strange. Larry asked him to sit closer to her, but Asher replied that he liked this distance. This frowning cat behavior upset Larry. She wondered if he had been hurt in a past relationship or if he just didn't like her. Of course, she didn't have many relationships, but touch is important, and Larry decided not to give up. Asher thought that he could not imagine such an environment. Larry opened the basket, saying that it was filled with all sorts of goodies. Asher realized that the butler had arranged everything and wanted to disappear. She asked Asher what food he liked best, and he replied that there was nothing. Larry thought it was strange, and how could he live without his favorite food? Then she took out a sandwich and told him that she liked the salmon sandwich and didn't like the smell of cucumbers. Of course she could eat them, but usually she was squeamish. She handed her sandwich to him while Asher thought that since she is a purification magician, then her smell is also purified. Even the smell of his curse is not so strong. Asher accepted the sandwich. He wanted to ask her if he smelled, but he restrained himself and just started eating his sandwich. Once again admiring his beauty, Larry decided to use her magic to knit a headband of flowers, then placed it on Asher's head. Asher did not understand this and told her not to laugh at him. Larry replied that she did not laugh at him and asked her to leave the flower headband. But the wind blew with force and the rim still blew away. Larry ran after it no matter what was ahead. So she fell straight into the fountain that was behind them, and she took Asher with her, who asked her to stop embarrassing him. He touched her long hair and asked what he would do if she caught a cold. Larry replied that she was in good health, so she wouldn't catch a cold, but Asher still picked her up and said that they had to go back. After some time, the butler checked her temperature, which rose to 38.5. You can understand everything from Asher's face. An unhappy Asher said that she had a strong immune system, but Larry replied that this was the first time she had gotten sick, but then simply apologized. Asher said that today he had to go to the Imperial Castle, so he called the priest, and Larry replied that everything was fine. He thought that she would be capricious and ask him to stay with her, and Larry thought that he was already worried about her condition. The Duke went out and got into the carriage, remembering that she came from the Blanchet family, and it was strange that her family could so easily allow their daughter to stay at the Duke's residence. He couldn't even imagine that cohabitation would be so difficult, and decided to find out more about it. Leaving his estate, another carriage drove towards his carriage. Apparently a clergyman was traveling to the estate. A long-haired guy with bright yellow eyes came into Larry's room and told her that he had come from the temple.